Okay, Commissioners, we're going to start up with item number 7, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, docket number 16-3399, block 857, lot 76, 245 Fifth Avenue in the Madison Square North Historic District, a neo-Gothic style store and loft building designed by George F. Pelham and built in 1926-27. The application is to replace entrance infill and modify a masonry opening, and this is the first time it's being presented. It was read into the record on November 18th, 2014.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Planning Preservation staff. This application is for 245 Fifth Avenue in the Madison Square North Historic District. The proposal is to alter an entrance on the Fifth Avenue facade and to alter a masonry opening on the East 28th Street facade. The architect, Sharon Paulson, is here to provide more information about the proposal.
Okay, we will reopen the hearing.
Sheridan Paulson of PKSD Architects. One day I'll get used to the lights. We're here today representing the owners of 245 Fifth Avenue. This is a building at the southeast corner of 28th Street and Fifth Avenue, built in 1926-27, designed by George F. Pelham. The tax photos and the designation report were extremely interesting. Unlike some of our other recent applications, there is very little record of the base of the building. While the building was constructed in 1926, what the tax photo on the left from the 1940s shows that the entire base had been clad in a Art Deco style storefront with a corner entrance, and all that remained of the stone was this cornice here. And the 1980s tax photo shows the chemical bank had come in and installed what appears to be a light or stainless steel storefront in the rest of the bays. There's also a loading bay at the far east of the 28th Street facade down here, which according to the designation report is also later. So what we drew from all of this is that there is no history exactly to interpret on the base of the building, and that we would take a little bit looser on this. The existing conditions are documented here. The existing building exterior seen from the north, that's the corner at 28th Street. The entrance, lobby entrance is here. The remainder of the storefronts are just that. They're storefronts. There's a coffee shop on the corner. This is the main entrance to the building. We'll catch a glimpse of it here, and there's another retail entrance here. On the 28th Street side, the loading bay is over here, and this is the bay that we're proposing to remove this infill and put in a new pair of doors, and that's a slightly better view of that. So the existing entrance is a storefront that was installed at the time the district was designated in 2001, and it is a black metal modern infill. What we're proposing is a very transparent entrance, because one of the key features of the building is its neo-Gothic detailing at the two entrances. So the one thing that we thought we could provide is a more transparent view into the lobby, which actually has more of the intact neo-Gothic detailing in the ceiling, which relates to the decoration above in the stonework. On the side street, because it is a small bay, in comparison to the larger bays for storefronts, what we are seeking to do is remove this window and this granite base and install two steps with a pair of doors that are recessed back in line with the remainder of the infill here. Shows the overall base elevation existing at the top, proposed at the bottom, and existing on the left, proposed on the right. So what we're proposing is to raise the height of the doors up. And this, what's faintly shown here, is the large cornice, and there's a band, and then a lower cornice, which is on the historic interior. And we're proposing to install a new beam, which spans across there, clad in stainless steel, not shiny, a matte finish metal, and the remainder of the doors, we'll show you the plan in a second, The ADA call buttons are clad in stainless steel and are mounted through the glass. And this shows the different configurations of the storefront. On the upper left is the configuration that was there at the time of designation before they replaced it with what's there today. And from that, we saw that there were 2 angled doors and an Audi revolving door. What's there today is an entrance that goes all the way across with an inset revolving door. And what we're proposing is to sort of reclaim more of that depth by pushing the doors back and then reconstituting the outbound. We do not know that this was the historic configuration. We do know that it was in place in 2001, and the building manager, who had been there for 30 years, also said that that had been there as long as he was there. But we have no photographs or anything else. And so the existing exterior elevation, the proposed, lots of details to explain how we're accomplishing this. And what we thought was really fun about the ADA thing is that it's set into the glass in the side panel, and it has just a very narrow cable that sits inside behind the glass and then is anchored down into the floor. And that's how anybody can get into the building who needs assistance.
Is there a reason why you're going with cast stone next to the limestone?
I'm going to introduce my partner, Tim Witzig, who's going to explain why we're doing the things we do.
Yeah, well, we've been told a number of vendors, Tim Witzig, PKSB, that we'll get a better match if we cast to a limestone. That the granite is relatively available, and we think we can get it. We actually think the granite, Sharon, I think maybe happened when the Chase people were there in the 80s. We can get that. The limestone a little harder, and we were told that if we cast it, they think we can get a much better match. So that's why we decided to go with it.
You got samples from any quarries?
No, we have not yet.
We have not
yet.
gotten samples.
We have not.
And those would, of course, be available to the staff as we go through the process. And on the side street, what we're proposing to do is, in this instance, match the metal of the new framing to the metal of the other dark storefront, simply because this is a smaller bay on that side street. It is recessed, and it is not the primary entrance into this business establishment. That is actually through the building lobby, which is ADA accessible. Oops. And that was that. So it's 2 entrances: primary lobby entrance, side street entrance into
And the reason for the change in materials for your main entrance, from the dark to the stainless?
There's 2 reasons. One is that we do want to provide more transparency. We don't think that the dark metal is particularly felicitous in conjunction with the lighter stone of the base. We did see that with the chemical bank installation, when they had the entire base clad in a lighter metal infill, that it seemed better against the limestone of the rest of it. So our hope is that we would encourage the owners to, as the stores become available, to change this. We discussed this at the community board, that a master plan for those storefronts would make a ton of sense. And that the entrance, which is the directions the owners want to go in terms of materials and glazing, would set the tone for the future. But I cannot say that that's part of that application right now.
Okay. Are there other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take public testimony. Barbara Zay.
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. HDC finds the change to the East 28th Street entrance to be very sensitive, but would prefer to see something more contextual on the Fifth Avenue side. The proposed entrance bay appears quite stark in its glassy and gray color palette, in contrast to the black framing on the other bays of the building's base. A consistent color scheme across the base would be more appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? Right, Community Board 5 has sent in their recommendation, and they recommend approval of the proposed application for Fifth Avenue, southeast corner of Fifth Avenue and 28th Street. right, comments, concerns? Any issues with this? Okay, good. In that case, that's great. We'll close the hearing. Okay, we'll close the hearing. And Chris, do you want to read that? Okay. It's number 7, and we don't have to propose the modification. We can take out that.
To the matter of 245 Fifth Avenue, the application is to replace entrance infill and modify a masonry opening. I move approval, finding that the proposed work will not eliminate or conceal any historic fabric, that no historic infill remains at any of the ground floor bays. Therefore, the presence of simply designed modern infill will not detract from the historic character of neighboring bays, that the presence of highly glazed, simply designed modern infill at the Fifth Avenue entrance will be consistent with the hierarchical organization of the building, which features a prominent, consistent masonry frame with subordinate infill, that the enlargement of the window opening at the East 28th Street facade, including the removal of a limited portion of plain masonry beneath it, will be harmonious with the hierarchical organization of the building and will not eliminate any significant architectural features. And that the proposed infill and stone steps for the East 28th Street entrance will be well scaled to the enlarged opening and in keeping with infill at entrances of this type at buildings of this type, style, and age in terms of materials, finish, design, and details.
All in favor? Any opposed? This application's been approved.